Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Thoughts and Coffee. I am so excited to be sitting in for Sarah Barnes-Humphrey as she travels this week. And we have a very, very fast 30 minutes here. So we are going to get started today as we are going to be talking through procurement. We're going to be talking through all the things that going on at Let's Talk Supply Chain. And we have a very special host, or guest, excuse me. We do have a special host. I'm a special host, Dyci Manns, and we have a very special guest that is going to join me to talk through all of the fun stuff this week. So let's get right into it. The ongoings at Let's Talk Supply Chain this week. So latest episode is out, episode 541 with Megan, how 3PLs and consultants are reshaping warehouse automation with TGW Logistics. I had the pleasure of meeting Megan at Manifest, not this year, but last year. And she is a joy. I have watched this episode, so you should go ahead and check it out as well. What else do we have going on? We have our events coming up. So we are going to be doing some different in-person events. Tomorrow in Atlanta, the team will be at the Operations and Business Leadership Gala. I will be there. Our guest today is going to be there. Sarah's going to be there. I am so excited to be celebrating cross-functional leaders. And tomorrow is National Supply Chain Day. So make sure that you thank a supply chain professional for keeping the world moving. May 4th through the 6th, very soon after that, Gartner Supply Chain Symposium is going to be in Orlando. I've already started to see the LinkedIn posts and the LinkedIn buzz of everyone that's going to be there. Very similar to the Operations and Business Leadership Gala, navigating disruption and building resilience in an increasingly complex supply chain landscape. Home Delivery World in Nashville, Tennessee is going to be just a few weeks after that. And the Let's Talk Supply Chain team is going to be there as well. May 20th and 21st in Music City, Nashville, Tennessee. Okay, so we also have a new episode of the Blended podcast. And the Blended team is also going to be at the gala here in Atlanta tomorrow. So a portion of ticket sales and sponsorships did go to Blended. For this latest episode, Sarah is joined by a few lovely guests to talk through intersectionality and how that impacts us in the workplace, what it really means, not the textbook version, but like the real lived version. So make sure you guys go and check that out. Links to all this stuff is in the comment section of this episode. And if you are not already subscribed to the Let's Talk Supply Chain newsletter, go ahead and do that to make sure you don't miss anything, like the Let's Talk Supply Chain LinkedIn page. And I think if it's still a thing, click the little bell, because you guys know how the algorithm is. Sometimes it doesn't want to show you what you really want to see. So make sure you don't miss anything ever for Let's Talk Supply Chain. Okay, so before we go into our weekly poll, I am going to go ahead and bring our very special guest up to the live stage with me. Miss Natalie, how are you this morning?
Hey, Miss Dyci, thank you so much for inviting me today. Thank you so much for, actually, not only today, thank you also for invitation to gala tomorrow. I'm going to visit it as well. So I'm fantastic. I'm already in Atlanta to visit you tomorrow and your event. The only complaint, I already mentioned it earlier, weather. Guys, I came from Canada to sunny Atlanta and it's raining the whole
time. It's not sunny Atlanta. It's not hot Atlanta this week. It is not hot Atlanta this week. So maybe I'll wear my rain boots to the gala tomorrow. Nice fancy dress and my rain boots. Okay, let's get into the weekly poll. We know that this time goes by super fast and we want to make sure we get through all of our articles. So let's see what the people said. Where does your organization stand? And I definitely did. I vote for, I think I voted for not sure, need visibility. I think that's what I voted for. Or maybe I did, maybe some gaps remain. I'm not sure. I am surprised. Whoever voted yes, can we see who they are, Nicole? Can you see that? What are you doing? Teach us. Teach the rest of us what's going on. Natalie, what are you seeing working with so many different procurement leaders on this topic?
I totally agree with you. I'm surprised about those 8%. Like, I'm not surprised. It's to pay attention. It's only 8%, right? Only 8% of those who mentioned that their procurement is absolutely ready for anything in this world, right? So they are very confident about it, and I'm happy. I'm sure that if they believe so, they're great professionals. Everything works well in procurement. But pay attention that 42% of people mentioned that their procurement is not ready for volatility and recession in case it's happening. Me personally, I believe it's happening already, right? But 42% are not ready. And maybe say 25% of procurement specialists and operational specialists, and it looks very realistic to me. But the most interesting, pay attention to the next 25%. They say not sure, need visibility. And when something from procurement operations say, I'm not sure about my procurement, we need more visibility, I can tell you that they have a problem with fragmented data, they have a problem with understanding what's going on, and maybe their situation is even worse than those who honestly say, we are not ready, we are working on it.
Mm-hmm. That, you know what, that's a good point, because you don't know what you don't know, but at least when you know, you can come up with a plan for improvement. But if you're just like, I don't know, then you don't really have a way to improve or get ready. So that's a very good call out, Natalie. Very good insights there. So let's get into our articles and see if there are any tips and tricks that you would actually recommend for any of our procurement leaders. And as we're talking through this, guys, if you have comments, if you have ideas, if you have questions, drop them in the comment section from wherever you are watching with us. And I won't promise to get to them live because we don't have a lot of time, but we will absolutely reply to any questions in the comments after the show if we are not able to get to them in the next 20 minutes or so. So procurement predictions from CPO Rising. Let's really talk through that. So one of the things that I took away from this is basically the old boundaries between procurement and supply chain are dissolving. So you've got planning, sourcing, contracting, fulfillment. In a perfect world, all of those are operating in sync with a connected decision loop and not these separate handoffs of like what we call it on my team is throwing over the fence. We'll throw it over the fence to finance. We'll throw it over the fence to sourcing after we've already done our part. And what I find is that makes the decision process longer. And then it's this back and forth. But if we all work together, we could probably get it done in a shorter amount of time. What do you think for procurement leaders listening today? What's your take on that, Natalie?
Thanks, Dyci. Very good question, and I'm not surprised that actually this point that actually took your attention. In my notes, I have the same, but I would move even further. Not only boundary between procurement and supply chain are dissolving. I would say that procurement and operation team and financial team, right? So they have to be absolutely aligned to make sure that they hit actually company financial goals, especially right now. So when economy goes up, procurement team is important, but it's more like it's important function, right, for company to operate. So when economy is shaking, I'm not going it's speaking about like going down, but at least shaking. So right now we're speaking about shaking. Uh, Procurement is strategic function because it's difficult to predict revenue, and it's crucial to control company-wide spend, right? So absolutely agree that supply chain and procurement should work together, but also with operation team and financial team all together aligned.
So you said something that made me think about a comment of a friend of mine in the procurement space. So I sit in supply chain strategy, and we really have that high level full enterprise network wide view, which is beneficial for me to be able to understand exactly what you're saying. Like, because we're the glue of trying to get those two to talk. It would be better if they just talked without us. But the comment that I remember a friend of mine making is that during COVID, procurement had a seat at the table. And then they essentially, what did they say? Procurement went from hero to zero very quickly. So when we're in these disruptive, almost crises-like situations, it's like procurement, procurement, procurement. But when it just comes to being strategic all the time, that doesn't happen. How can leaders just always be in that default of strategic procurement?
Since we are discussing this particular article, there was one more idea which I would like to highlight, and partially it will answer a question. So let me just read it. Supplier relationship are equally important as customer relationship. And this idea has a lot of meaning and a lot of, I would say, even business philosophy behind of it, right? So for years, it was important for companies, doesn't matter industry, to maintain really good relationship with customers. So customers means revenue, means retention, right? So it's, of course, it's important. But what is equally important is to maintain really good relationship with suppliers. And it's impossible without right technology for, again, everyone has CRM, right? But supplier risk management and supplier relationship management is equally important. And this is actually where we move from just operation to strategies and strategic. And the question was like, what should chief procurement officers and other procurement leaders do to get this, sit at big table to make their voice important for a company? Again, first of all, markets moving for that direction, but from another side, if procurement can really strategically control company-wide spend and provide visibility. Remember, in poll, we saw some say need visibility. I have no idea what's happening, right? So if procurement department can provide visibility, can provide real-time data, in such case, we are speaking not about operations, but about strategy and strategic operations, strategic role. So, and again, it's in that article. I highly recommend to read it.
Yes, thank you. Let's go. Hey, Ron. Yes, good to see you too. Thanks for joining this morning. As a reminder, everyone, all of the links to the podcast, to the different articles, we're putting them in the comments. Let's go to the next article that we have, Natalie. What's the next one? Procurement as a strategic finance function. So we've been talking about, bringing in finance and really looking at managing the company-wide spend. You talked about visibility. You also talked about supplier risk management, and what all of those things got me to thinking about was strategic cost and spend optimization. There are so many times where you get into some sort of disruption or economic downturn, and procurement goes into cost cutting and cost savings. And what I have seen that often mean is that the idea of total cost of ownership kind of goes out the window. And then also we're going off of the per piece price, or we're going off of the initial contract price without quantifying the cost of poor quality, or without quantifying the potential risk for that supplier. But to your point, I haven't seen that a lot of us have the visibility to the data that is needed in order to be able to make those decisions and make strategic procurement and sourcing decisions. And I kind of think I just set up a question for like, what does App Centra do? I did not do that on purpose. But I'm sure you're going to say, well, there's a technology for that.
Actually, technology is very important, right? But technology at the same time, again, I am a CEO of a company which provides technology. At the same time, technology is only part of the game. It's only part. It has to be first quality. It has to be reliable. It has to be end-to-end and gives full visibility. But what is also important, processes. Okay, processes are very important, and what we believe, and again, I will start speaking about more like a mission vision, because again, I'm not working with technology first time. I do understand that technology only makes sense if it was created by professional for professionals. So if technology, let's say, and about APS Centra, so this technology was created by procurement leaders, head of procurement department, for procurement leaders and teams, right? Leaders and teams. And this is important. And if you're speaking about data, for me personally, I have no idea how it is possible to operate, how it is possible to make any decent decision if you don't have numbers, if you don't have data, if you don't have visibility. For me, I just feel myself like I'm blind, right? Yes. If there is no data and realistic data, real-time data, in such case, you're just blind. And it is very easy to make mistake, especially if economy is shaking. So this is first thing. Second, what I already mentioned, and it's about people. It's not about technology. Teams are supposed to be aligned. Procurement, finance, operations, supply chain, they have to be aligned. And what's happening very often, if people aligning with email or Excel or other, for example, I love Slack, but again, it is not.
No, we do everything in Teams. It's all Teams chat,
for example. Yeah. But again, it's not alignment. If all information related to the process is not at the same platform, and not a single source of truth for the whole operation team, in such case, it makes little sense because it's very fragmented. And fragmented information means a lot of financial loss. So let's just have an example. Procurement team is working, taking some decision, and financial team has this information, let's say like 3, 4, 5 weeks after that, analyzing and giving feedback. Guys, it's too late. It's too late. Mm-hmm. Like 1 week can change many things. So I believe, and again, it's not about technology, it's about philosophy. Technology only supports it, that all information should be real time, real data. Teams should be aligned, and teams should work together on almost daily basis, right? And it doesn't mean meetings, but having access to same data, to single source of truth. So this is actually what we do.
Yeah, really, really driving. I have a couple of, if anyone's taking notes, I have a couple of wrap-ups from that. So one of the things that came to mind is, in God we trust, everyone else must show receipts. So I want to see the data. I don't know I don't care what your gut feeling is telling you. I've been doing this for 20 years. I want to see the data. I want to see the cleansed data that makes sense and supports what you are trying to convince me of or align me on. Easier said than done. We know that we're swimming in data right now, but to your point, we don't have a source of truth. This team is working with this level. This other team is working in this time horizon. So driving that alignment is really, really important. And I think that people underestimate what that looks like and how much work it is, to your point, from a process perspective, and the emails, the chats, etc. I call that collaboration theater. Like, we're all talking, so it makes us feel good, but you're not actually sharing information and driving alignments for leadership decisions so that we're all marching in the same direction. So I have one question for you that might put you on the spot. We'll see. You can only pick one.
Okay.
Where do you typically see the biggest disconnect between CFOs and procurement leaders? Budget visibility, what the definition of savings means, supplier risk, or working capital?
Good question. I would say everywhere, but oh my God, all of them are good. Supplier risk is very important, but it's more about communication and it's not so much about financial teams. So working capital, I would say working capital, right? And again, if you're speaking about recession, it means we're speaking about money. And I would connect budgeting and working capital together. So I wouldn't separate those two things because it's pretty much same, right? And this is actually where we have biggest disconnection. And again, in terms of data and in terms of time when this data goes to both leaders. So they're not disconnected about goals. They're not disconnected about what potentially is right decisions. They are disconnected in time. So until information, until data reaches a financial director, procurement director already took some decisions which will influence financials, right? So this is actually what we are trying to to eliminate, this disconnection in data and time. So single source of truth should be available to all responsible team members same time.
That's a really, really good point. So I'll give my 2 cents just based off of my experience. Kind of going back to what I said before, we get into these cost saving, we must cut costs. The recession is here. There's this disruption. We're spending too much money. We need working capital. We need to align to budget. But how we define savings is always, because it's like, yes, you saved 2 cents per part, but did you save? Because now finance is basing their budgets off of what they expect, like a certain number of units, a certain capacity. But if this supplier now does not provide that, or if you're spending more money, having engineering teams go sit with the supplier to figure out what the issue is, how are we defining savings on the same page across the company? So that's what I see a lot of lately. And then to your point, also those lagging indicators. I was actually sitting with the strategy program manager for an aluminum manufacturer not too long ago, and we were talking through KPIs. And I said, yeah, some of these things I see you're already tracking. And she said, yeah, but they're lagging. We can't do anything about that. Like, yeah, it happened. Cool. We need more leading indicators. So we need to take the data from different teams, from different systems. Again, easier said than done. Different teams, different systems, pull all this data together from different legacy systems across the enterprise so we can see what the leading indicators are and where we need to start mitigating risk before it becomes a disruption. So again, like, the vision is there. How we actually get there is different. Okay, last article. We've got 6 minutes. I feel like I'm under pressure. I'm like watching 24 minutes, 10 seconds, 24 minutes, 11 seconds. Okay, a new era for procurement, value creation across the supply chain. McKinsey, yay, we love McKinsey. I'm being facetious. So where...
Great articles. Even though this article we are going to read, it was written in 2023. It is absolutely
still relevant.
Yeah,
yes, still relevant. What I find to be wild, just absolutely wild, is the conversations that we continue to have year after year after year that no one's learning from. No one's learning from their mistakes. Like, here we are again talking about the same thing. I'm sure we can pull an article from 2018 and it would still be relevant. And then we would be talking about, hey, remember in COVID when this thing happened? And now we're like, hey, now we're in an economic downturn. There are wars, there are multiple disruptions, and yet we just don't learn. We just don't learn from it. But this is a big takeaway that I have. I want to see what you think. In this article, McKinsey says that procurement is now tied to executive level priority. So again, talking about procurement, having a seat at the executive table, reporting to the board, reporting to shareholders. Those priorities are cost, cash, resilience, sustainability, which is even becoming, huge from a regulation perspective, especially in Europe. Being pushed on the agendas of a lot of executive leaders, margin protection, and then of course growth. One of the stats that stood out to me is that they say external spend often represents 50 to 80% of a company's cost base, but still receives less strategic attention than sales or productivity improvements. What do you think?
I think they're absolutely right. And what was, my sentence I just written down, fragmented operations brings optimization of cost versus optimization of revenue. And efficient company, they do margin optimization, which means that they optimize both. But to optimize both, they have to be connected in operations, communication, same language, what you are mentioning, same data, single source of truth. So absolutely, totally agree. I totally agree with that. And actually, right now, we have to pay attention to resource, how to save resource, right? And again, in this article, they also speak about it. And three main resource, first of all, it's budget, right? How companies spend, and it doesn't mean they don't have to spend, they have, but they have to control. Second, is time. It's also a very important resource which company have to control right now. And again, when economy slows down, it doesn't mean that company have to even more. They have to operate even with higher efficiency to compensate, right? And number three is relationship. This is also a resource which we have to manage. And it is very important to have single source of truth technology, which helps to manage money, time, and relationship if you're talking about procurement and company overall.
Yes, I think that people really underestimate the power of relationships, especially within the supply chain. I say all the time, this probably said for any business, it is a people industry, it is a people function. It is all based on people because it is one big group project. All the group projects you did in school, that's what it is working in supply chain, a really big group project. We have an IG, which is Instagram, have an IG comment. I'd say the delays in data versus time to decide is the biggest impact for CFOs and procurement leaders. And I would say that's the case for most supply chain stuff. You have to model so many scenarios, you have to get so much information, but the decision has to be made now. So how do you get that data in the right place? Going back to your point, Natalie, if everything is already in that single source of truth, it really speeds up that time to decision and helps to eliminate the data lag. So that's something that companies can do for sure. Shout out to Jarish from New Jersey. He put a little fire symbol in his comment. I don't know if that means we're on fire or Jersey is on fire. I'm gonna say that we were on fire and doing great with this episode. So again, my little countdown thing. I've got 45 seconds, Natalie. I have a closing question that I would like for you to answer. If procurement leaders want to be seen as strategic business partners in 2026 and beyond, what do they need to stop doing and start doing?
First of all, to be strategic leader, you have to be strategic leaders, right? They have to stop seeing procurement as only small part of business, and they have to seize and they have to take responsibility for procurement department as base for business. Actually, they have to understand how important right now is for procurement to make sure that business is staying in business during recession, because they control most of cash flow. This is actually what they do, right? And they have to stop thinking fragmented about procurement. They have to stop thinking fragmented inside of procurement, and they have to bring strategic information to the actually to higher management, to company owners, to board of directors. They have to bring strategic information. They have to act strategic, and they have to understand that they are responsible right now during recession for company resilience. Okay, so you told that words and how we communicate is important. I would move even further. What we think and how we think is important. Strategic leaders are those who take responsibility, those who bring right information, doesn't matter if it's good or bad, but right data, and those who take strategic decisions based based on right technology as well.
All right, you guys heard it. Companies that treat procurement as transactional back office functions are going to miss a major opportunity in being resilient, and they will be better positioned to manage volatility when connected to finance, planning, and supplier intelligence. All right, everyone.